this lecture we are going to learn checkbox Android control, which is very useful in every Android application, right? So in Android, checkbox is a two-state button that can be either in checked state, it means on off state, or sometimes it may be in unchecked state, it means it is in off state. Okay, so there are only two states for the checkbox control, one is on and another is off. Alternatively, we can say that checkbox is in checked state or it is in unchecked state. Then in typical Android application, multiple checkboxes can be used to permit the user to select one or more options from the set of values. As shown in this particular figure, there are four checkboxes, out of which these four checkboxes, first two checkboxes have been selected by the user. Okay, so whenever there is requirement that user should be able to select a multiple options among the list of options, then checkbox is a right control for that particular requirement of the application. By default, an Android checkbox will be in off state or it will be in unchecked state, but this default unchecked or off state can be changed by using an attribute called as the checked. Okay, so this checked attribute is set in the .xml or layout file using Android :checked is equal to the value of true. And this is the class hierarchy for checkbox UI control. It means a checkbox is a subclass or derived class of the compound button, and compound button is derived class of button class. Again, button is the subclass or derived class of text view, and text view is the subclass of view, and view is the child class or subclass of the object. So this is the class hierarchy which is there for this checkbox class. Then checkbox control can be created in two ways as that of the previous controls. It means it can be created either in layout file using .xml file, or it can be created in an activity file in .java code programmatically. Okay, so now we will see how to create a checkbox control in .xml or layout file. So this particular code snippet shows you how to create a checkbox in the layout file or XML file. There is one relative layout, and within this relative layout here there is only one control that is called the checkbox. And to create a checkbox control, a checkbox tag is used here as shown in this particular rectangle area. Okay, so this is the starting as well as ending tab or tag of the checkbox. This slash and this angle bracket will indicate that this is the end of the checkbox control. As usual, there is ID field of the checkbox which is set to the chk1. Then width and height is set to the wrap contents, right? And this text is set to the Java. It means in this particular figure, whatever the text is here, this is set by the text property of that particular control. It means whenever we set a text equal to Java in this way, it will show the control like this way. It means in front of this text there will be a checkbox which can be selected or deselected by the user, right? Now one of the important property that is called as the checked, Android :checked, which is defined here in the say checkbox control tab, and it is set to the true. That is why by default whenever this application will be running, by default state of this checkbox will be set to the true. It means by default it will be in checked state. If this particular statement might not be there in this particular .xml file, then by default state of this checkbox would be unchecked or off state, right? Now we will see how to create a checkbox control in activity file it means in programmatic way, right? So a checkbox control can be created programmatically in the host activity as shown in this particular code snippet, right? So here, first of all, object of layout is created, which is of type linear layout, and is mapped to the layout using find UI ID and passing this particular resource ID. Then here, object of checkbox class is created, which name is CB equal to new checkbox, and this is the current context of that particular application. Then see, now here CB is the object of checkbox class. So CB dot set text, it will set this particular text programmatically to that checkbox control, and then CB dot set checked, and we are passing here the value of true. So it is same as that of the setting checked attribute in the .xml file to the true, but programmatically it is achieved in this way. It means set checked function or method is called on the object of checkbox, in this case which is CB, and whatever value we want, it have boolean value either true or false, that should be passed to this particular set checked method. And finally, this CB means checkbox control should be added to this layout by using layout dot add view and passing CB, or it means checkbox object as a parameter of the particular add view control, right? So in this way, programmatically also we can create an checkbox control in the .java file. So whenever, in case of checkbox, whenever user clicks on checkbox to select or deselect a checkbox object, it will receive an on-click event. It means on-click is event listener for this checkbox control, and whenever user select or deselect, it means whenever user checks or unchecks a particular checkbox control, then the checkbox object will receive an on-click event, right? And this checkbox on-click event can be defined in two ways, as explained earlier controls, in case of earlier controls as well. It means click event for the checkbox can be defined or created either in XML layout file, or it can be created in activity hosting activity file programmatically. Okay. Then how to handle a checkbox click event in XML layout file? First of all, we see the click event in XML layout, and then we will go through the how to implement a checkbox click event in .java file. So in XML layout file, in order to implement click events, click event handler for checkbox should be defined by adding an attribute called as the onClick. It means Android onClick. Remember here, in the word onClick, C should be, first C of click should be a capital. Okay. So and this attribute should be set in the checkbox tag. And what should be the value of this onClick attribute? It should be, it means the value of this onClick attribute must be the name of method or function which need to call in response to the click event. It means whenever user select or deselect a particular checkbox, whatever name of the method is set to this particular onClick attribute, that method should be called, and it's the responsibility of Android developer or Android programmer to define or implement such a function with the same name as that of the name which is set to this particular onClick attribute of the checkbox. Okay. So this typical code snippet shows you how to create a click event of checkbox in XML layout file using Android onClick attribute. Okay, and there is simple linear layout. This is starting of the layout and this is the ending of the layout. Then within this linear layout, one checkbox control is there. As usual, it has ID control, width and height attributes are also there. Then its checked condition is set to true initially, and its text property is set to Java. Now we are interested in this particular Android colon on click attribute. Okay, so here value of this on click attribute is set to the on checkbox click. Okay, it means there in the host activity which host this particular layout, in that particular activity file, developer or Android programmer should implement a method with the same name. It means on checkbox click, and whatever logic should be there as per user's requirement, that should be implemented in that particular method or function, so that whenever a checkbox is clicked or unclicked by the user, then a function with this name can be called from the .java file of that particular host activity, right? So once we have defined the attribute on click in the XML layout file, next step is the activity that host that particular host say XML layout file, developer need to implement a click event method as shown in this particular code snippet. If you observe carefully, this is user defined method or user defined function whose name is on checkbox click. Okay, so if you observe carefully here, this name of the on click property on checkbox click and name of this method is same, and it must be same in order to work the click event properly, right? And then in this particular on checkbox click method, this particular logic is implemented here, but this logic may be different depending upon the requirement of the particular application. So we will see this particular logic later on. Now we will see how to handle a checkbox click events in activity file, right? So checkbox click event can also be defined programmatically in activity file rather than the XML layout file. Okay. To define checkbox click event programmatically, first of all we need to create an object of the checkbox on which we want to implement a click event. So here we have created an object of the checkbox and its name is chk, and we have mapped this checkbox with the resource id whose id is chk1 using find view by id. So what a definition we have created in the layout file, that definition or all attribute will be mapped to this particular checkbox object, right? After creating the object of checkbox, then we need to create a few dot on click listener object like this one. So using new operator we can create few dot on click listener object, and this object should assign to a button. In this case chk is a checkbox button, assigned to a checkbox button by calling a function which is set on click listener. Okay. So here chk is object of the checkbox and we are calling set on click listener and we are passing this particular object of the few dot on click listener class. Okay, it means we are registering this on click listener for this particular checkbox, so that whenever user checks or unchecks that particular checkbox, in this case chk, then this on click listener will come into the action and it will call the appropriate event handler function. In this case this on click is called as the event handler function, and whatever behavior we want on that particular checked and unchecked action of the user, that logic can be implemented in this on click method. Okay, again we will go through the details of this code in later on sessions. Then as as that of the previous controls like button or edit text or likewise. Android checkbox control has also a number of attributes which are shown in this particular table. So you go through this table, you read it carefully, attribute and description, and you may got a clear idea that which attribute is used for what purpose, right? So here there is one example of the checkbox control. Okay, so this is a code snippet of the activity underscore main.xml file which belongs to this checkbox control example. Okay, so there is a linear layout. This is the starting of the linear layout and this is the ending of the linear layout, and there are a number of controls like say 1 2 3 4 5 6 controls are there, out of which there are 4 checkbox controls and one is text view, and last one is the button control. So your first view is text view, which is used to display this particular text, which value is Android checkbox example, and it is the first control. So as say as shown in this particular diagram or figure, this particular text view is used to give a title to this particular application. Whatever text is here, Android checkbox example, this is shown by this particular text view. Okay, it is shown in this various effect or formatting because there are a number of attributes here. For example, background color is this one, gravity is center, then text color is this one, text size, text style is bold, likewise, right? Then similarly, next control is the checkbox. Two controls are checkbox. ID of this first checkbox is set to the CHK ABAD, and ID of second control is set to the CHK Pune. It means this particular first checkbox represents the Aurangabad and the second represents the Pune. Then there are other parameters or attributes of the checkbox. The important properties are this text and on click property. So text property of the first checkbox is set to the text Aurangabad. That is why here you are able to see Aurangabad in front of this first checkbox. Okay, then on click property is set to the on checkbox clicked. It means whenever user select or deselect this particular checkbox, then it will call the method which whose name is on checkbox clicked, and its definition will be in the activity file which hosts this particular XML layout file. Okay, similarly for second checkbox which is Pune, it means text property of the second checkbox is set to Pune. That's why here text is shown as a Pune. Okay, and its on click property is also set to same as that of the previous checkbox, that is on checkbox click, because we want the same behavior whenever user click on the second checkbox or third or fourth checkbox as well. That is why for all of this checkbox control, this on click property will be same. It means on checkbox clicked, right? So these three controls will show you this particular heading, then this first checkbox and second checkbox. Now rest of these two checkbox and one button, it will be shown by this particular right hand side code. Okay, so third checkbox ID is set to the CHK Nagpur and its text property is set to the Nagpur. That's why here it is shown as a Nagpur. And as I said earlier, on click property is same as that of the previous one, that is on checkbox clicked. And then last checkbox is for Mumbai and its ID is CHK Mumbai. With height is set to graph content and text is set to the Mumbai. Text property is set to the Mumbai. That's why here Mumbai is visible. And on click property is set to the that of the previous one, that is on checkbox clicked. Now only one control is remaining, that is called as this button, whose text is set to the get details. Okay, so if you see the text of this button control, it is set to the get details. Okay, and another important property is that its ID. So ID of the button control is get btn, and rest of the attributes are for proper arrangement of the button, that is width and height, then left margin and top margin is set to the appropriate values, right? So we have seen the contents of activity underscore main.xml file, which defines this type of UI layout or user interface layout. Now we will go into details of .java code of the activity file which hosts this particular layout file. Okay, so this is a code snippet of the main activity.java, and this main activity.java file is a hosting activity of activity underscore main.xml layout file. These are various classes which we need in this particular code, which are imported at the beginning of the code here, and its package is this one. Now here set content view is a typical statement which sets the XML layout which is defined in the activity underscore main.xml file by using set content view, and it accepts this particular ID of the activity underscore main.xml file. Okay, so here there are four checkboxes are created here, right? So this is the code for main activity.java file, which is the host activity for the main underscore activity.xml file, which we have seen in this last page. It means this layout is hosted by this particular activity file. Okay, and these are some package name, and these are some classes which are imported in this application, and these are required for the execution of this particular application. Then next, at the starting of this class, we have created 4 checkbox object with the name Aurangabad, Pune, Nagpur and Mumbai. Okay, and in onCreate function, these are two of the typical methods which are there in all Android applications. So set content view will set whatever layout we have defined in this particular activity underscore main.xml file. It will set this UI layout to this particular hosting activity using set content view. Okay, and then next step is to whatever checkbox object we have declared here, we have to initialize this object with the definitions which we have defined in the .xml layout file, and this is achieved using the function or method called as the find view by ID. Okay, so Aurangabad is equal to Aurangabad is the object of type checkbox. So Aurangabad is equal to find view by ID, and we are passing here r.id.chkabad. Okay, it is whatever definition we have implemented for the checkbox whose ID is chkabad will be mapped to this particular Aurangabad, which is of type checkbox. So if you see in the layout file, chkabad is the object of this first checkbox chkabad, which belongs to this particular first checkbox control, right? Similarly, rest of the this checkbox objects will be initialized or mapped with the definitions of that respective checkboxes which we have defined in the XML layout file, that is CHK with ID CHK Pune, CHK Nagpur and CHK Mumbai. Okay, and last control is the button control here. So button control will also need to map with the object of button. That's why here we have been created the button control. Button btn is equal to find view by ID, and we are passing here the ID of button control which we have defined in the .xml file. So r.id.getBtn, this getBtn is the ID of this button control in our layout files. ID is get btn. Okay, so what definition we have attributes you are defined in this layout file for a button control. This definition will be set to this particular btn object which is of type button. Okay, and here we are calling set on click listener function. It means we are registering the listener for this button control object by calling set on click listener function, and here we are passing or creating a few dot on click listener object and passing it as object to the set on click listener. Okay, and whenever user clicks on checkbox control, this on click listener will come into the picture and it will call the handler function, which is in this case is the on click method or on click function, right? So here in on click function, what we have done is that we have created one object of class string and whose name is result, and we have set some predefined or default string to it, which is the select cities and colon. So this is a static string which will be set to the result string. It means result is object of type string, right? And then we are checking whether a particular checkbox object or checkbox control is selected or deselected by using if statement for every control. For example, here we are checking if Aurangabad dot is checked. So is checked method is used to get the status or current state of the that particular checkbox control. Okay, so here see Aurangabad is the object of type checkbox, and we are calling each checked function or method on this checkbox object. Okay, if Aurangabad checkbox button is clicked or checked, then this value will be returned to the true, and this if condition will becomes true, and this code which is resides there inside the if statement will be executed. Okay. So here what we are doing, here we are just appending the text property of that particular checkbox, right? So here by default result value of result is selected cities. Now we want to display the name of selected cities below this particular static string. That is why here we are appending result plus equal to slash n. It means it will take control to new line, and here it will display a text as Aurangabad, right? So if Aurangabad checkbox is selected, it will append text Aurangabad to this selected city static string, and this Aurangabad text will be shown to the next line of this below this particular text selected cities. Alternatively, here instead of this hard coded text, you can use statement like this object that is Aurangabad dot get text in order to extract the text property of this particular checkbox control, but it should preceded by the static strings slash in double quote and plus there should be Aurangabad dot get text. Okay, likewise you can also achieve the same thing. So similarly we are checking for each and every statement for Pune, Nagpur, Mumbai. Okay. And whenever there is a checkbox is selected, this if statement condition will become true, and that particular string will be added to this result string. And finally, whatever user has selected, that will be shown in the form of text. Okay, but before that, here we are checking whether user has selected some cities or not, right? So here if result not equal to selected cities, it means by default we are setting the value of result string to the selected cities, and if user has not selected any cities, then the contents of result string will be only selected cities text. Okay, in that case it means if this text or contents of the result string are the selected cities, it means user has not selected any cities. That is why here we are checking if result not equal to selected cities, then only uh, this particular test control will show you whatever the contents of the result string are there, that will be shown here. For example, suppose user has selected the first two checkboxes, it is Aurangabad and Pune. So this particular result string will contain the text like selected cities, then next line Aurangabad, and next line Pune. Okay, so that will be shown here. And if user has not selected any checkbox, then this condition will become false. It means user has not been selected any cities. In other words, we can say if the value of the result string is only selected cities, then user has not been selected any cities, and in that case else statement or else part of the if will be executed, and it will show an error, select some data. Okay, when you run this application, you will look the output which is shown in this particular okay. So before that, one part is also remaining. So this is the button click event of the checkboxes. Now what is remaining is that we had defined the on click event of each checkbox control in the user define say XML layout file. Okay, and its name was on checkbox clicked, right? So whenever that particular checkbox will be selected or deselected, this method will be called, right? And here we are extracting, here we have been extracting the state of that particular checkbox button. It means whenever user clicks on a particular checkbox button, its on checkbox click method is called by an Android system, and object of view class will be received as a parameter. Okay, so from this view object we can extract the state of the checkbox button. It means whether it is checked or it is unchecked state. That is why here one variable of type boolean is declared. So boolean checked is equal to this object view dot is checked. Okay, but by default its type is of view, and we are interested in the checkbox object. That's why this should be typecasted to the checkbox object. That is why here it is typecasted as checkbox, and view dot is checked. If that particular button is checked, then this value will be true, or otherwise it will be false. Then again here we have declaring one string type variable which is null or blank initially, and then we are passing the view.id function or method to the switch statement. Okay, so view.getID, this particular function will extract the ID of the button which is checked or unchecked. It is which has been triggered the click event. Okay, for example, suppose user has been selected checkbox Nagpur. In that case, this view object will be contain a Nagpur checkbox, and its state will be extracted in this checked variable, which will be a true, and then this view dot get ID extract the ID of the Nagpur checkbox control, which will be this one r.id.chk Nagpur. Okay, and here we are using conditional variables. It means str is equal to checked. It means if checked is true, then Nagpur selected, this string will be stored to the str variable. Otherwise it means this checked variable is false, then this Nagpur deselected string will be stored in this str string, right? and then switch statement will be come out of execution control will become out of the switch statement, and then this toast message will be displayed to the user, whose value will be whatever content are there in the str variable. In this case, considering the Nagpur checkbox is selected, so its text will be Nagpur selected, and that text will be shown to the user in the form of toast message. Similarly, if the checkbox for Pune city is selected, then as soon as user select on the click on the Pune checkbox, then this method will be called with the view object which contains the say Pune checkbox. Its state will be retrieved in this first statement, which will be a true. It means checked variable will be having a value of true, and then the switch statement means we will get the id of u dot get id. It means id of the Pune checkbox, which is the second case. Okay, so execution control directly transferred into this r.id.chk Pune case, and here str initially so value of str string variable is a blank. Now here we are initializing that string variable using this conditional operator. It means if value of checked is true, then this will be stored in str, otherwise this text that lies at the right hand side of this colon operator will be stored in the str variable. In this case, Pune selected will be stored into the str variable, and then that message will be shown to the user. So when you run this application, it will show the output like this one, which is shown in this GIF image. Okay, so this is there are 4 checkbox controls and 1 button control is there. When clicks on the get details, nothing is read, that's why that error is been displayed. So R what is selected, it is showing proper message. Nagpur is selected, it is showing that particular message. For Mumbai, Mumbai is selected. Deselection, Mumbai is deselected. When user click on the get details, so 2 cities are selected, Aurangabad and Nagpur. Okay, so in this way this particular application works. Now we will go to the practical implementation of this example. Code is same which I have been explained here, but only I run this application on the emulator and I will show you how it works. Right, so here I have created one Android application with name checkbox example, and this is activity underscore main.xml file, which has same controls as that of the explained in the theory. Its design view will be like this one. So there are 4 checkboxes, 1 button and 1 text view, and this is a code of .java file. Code is same which I have explained earlier. Now simply I will run this application. So I click on this run application button and select the first AVD. AVD is already started. So this will launch an activity as shown in this emulator, and this is our user interface. Okay. Now here are 2 click events. Whenever user clicks on this individual checkbox control, in that case this on checkbox clicked method will be called by an Android system, because in activity.xml file here on click property of each and every checkbox is set to the on checkbox clicked method, whose definition is here. Right, so when I click select, when I select or deselect any particular individual checkbox control, this method will be called, and appropriately one of the message which is here in this particular switch case statement, that will be shown to the user. And another click event is on this get details button control event. So whenever this user clicks on this get details button, in that case, so this set on click listener will be activated, and it will call the on click event handler, and depending upon the selection of the user, particular cities will be displayed. For example, if user has selected these two cities, then it will display the message the selected cities, then Aurangabad and Pune. If none of the city is selected, then this else statement will be executed, and it will show the message select some data, right? So nothing is selected here, and I will click on the get details. It will show select some data. Now when I click or select Aurangabad, then this switch case will become true, and it will show a message Aurangabad selected, which is this one, right? So observe it, I will select this checkbox, message is Aurangabad selected. When I deselect the same control or same checkbox, then value of the checked variable will be false, and this text will be stored into the str and will be displayed in the form of toast message here, because we are passing str to show the message to this particular checkbox control. Okay, so I will simply deselect it. It will show Aurangabad deselected. Similarly for Nagpur, Nagpur selected, Nagpur deselected, right? Now I will select Aurangabad, Aurangabad selected, and I will select Mumbai, Mumbai selected. Okay, so in this way, this on checkbox click method will be called whenever particular checkbox is selected or deselected. Now when I click on this get details button, then this handler will call this on click method, right? And whatever cities are selected, text of that particular cities will be appended to the string object result, which will contain the default string as a selected cities. Okay, so selected cities colon, and then here are here two cities have been selected, Aurangabad and Mumbai. So the first if statement will be true, and the last if statement, it means this if statement will be true. It means the value of this result string will be selected cities colon, then in next line the Aurangabad, and below that text will be Mumbai. See here, when I click on the get details, it will show the output like this one, selected cities Aurangabad and Mumbai. See again, Aurangabad and Mumbai. So in this way, checkbox control can be created in an Android application depending upon our requirement.